everyone. Welcome back to D&H TV. I'm Chris Phillips. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're here to talk about how to empower the do everything from everywhere. We've got two great speakers to help us do that today. First of all, I got Gerald Flint. He's the HP-AMD Alliance Specialist with HP. Gerald, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. And we've also got Jeff Priestley. He's the Senior Business Development Executive with AMD, and he's got just the most athletic family on the planet. Jeff, how's it going today?
Really good.
I wish you guys could have heard the conversation we were just having right before we started. He was raving about how athletic not only himself but his 4 children are. Truly, actually remarkable to hear about that stuff. But what we're here today is actually to talk about some cool stuff from HPE and AMD. But if you guys are here on the call, you've got questions you want to ask Gerald and Jeff throughout the broadcast, there's a little box right here. You can ask questions. We are actually going to go ahead and start things off by asking a question to you guys. We have some poll questions we want to push out to you. I'm going to push out the first one right now. If you got a chance, please take a moment and answer that poll question as we kind of start to go through things here. We also have resources that are available. You can view them now or after the broadcast is over. I'm going to go ahead and highlight those for you guys as well. But to kick things off, the poll question you guys were asking is, are you currently selling or offering HP AMD notebooks or mobile workstation products? And I will kind of push up the results for you guys. And the results right now is kind of even across the board, 31% all the time, 31% some, 15% no, but they're looking for some good reasons to do so, and 21 not at all. So hopefully by the end of this broadcast, we'll give 21% of you a reason too. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's for sure. That's a good mix.
It's a really good mix. We're going to push out one more because we've been talking about AI a lot, not just in this broadcast, but it seems like the last 4 or 5 broadcasts I've done with D&H, the topic of AI has been brought up at least multiple times. It's the thing that everyone's talking about because it's fundamentally changing how we do the work we do on a daily basis, not from just writing, but idea generation. The time to go to market on things is being drastically cut down because a lot of the monotony, a lot of the legwork is being taken care of by AI programs, whether it's image generation, text generation, effects generation, things of that nature. The one we asked was, how likely is the AI in your PC going to come up in your customer's conversation? Sorry, this window got really small on me. Are you having? Oh my gosh, they are really small on me. I'm sorry, guys, but I'll just push the results out. And Gerald, can you see the results here real quick?
Yes, I can. Yeah, it looks like we got about 50% of it. So they'll bring it up where it makes sense. Yep.
Cool. And that is in line with what we're seeing out there in the market. A lot of people unsure, but they're bringing it up because if it is important, you can tailor the hardware you're putting in those customers' hands around AI, and that's something I think you guys might bring up today. So, Jeff, I believe you're kicking things off. I'm going to push things over to you, and we'll get started.
All right, thank you. So I'm Jeff Presley, and I'm responsible for the D&H account with all lines, all brands, server and client. And in July of this year was my 42nd year in IT. And I'm recently returning back to AMD in the last 3 years. But, as we go through the processor side of this, and I'll focus on that, and then Gerald will take care of the actual HP lines of the AMD clients. One first thing to know, and this is a good thing to say, is that everything we're going to talk about today is available today. You can buy it, you can ship it, you can sell it, and D&H has good inventory on all the products that we're talking about today. So that's probably one of the most important things, a lot better story than we've had 8, 9, 10 months ago. So what we're going to talk about is the new release of the 7000 series, the 740,000 series processor. People will say size doesn't matter. Well, in processors, yes, it does. It absolutely does. And what it allows you, and we're down to 4 nanometers, and that size of that processor allows you to be more efficient, have faster processing, less wattage to actually, run the processor itself and run the processes. But the other piece of that is, especially in a laptop, and it will give you a lot longer battery life, because if you're cooler, quieter, and more efficient, the fan's going to run a lot less. A lot less heat is generated. So, to give you an example, is I just actually did a conference a couple of weeks ago where I went 3 days. I didn't plug my laptop in. 3 days, 24 hours. EliteBook. I actually went to the airport, used the laptop on the plane for 2 hours, then go to a booth and a conference for 2 days, 3 hours each, and also doing stuff at night. And so doing all of that, I was able to go really at about a 24-hour time frame, which is unheard of nowadays. But that's what AMD's bringing to the picture with that smaller processor and a more powerful, more efficient processor. The other thing is, in that 7000 series, and we started it with the 6000 series, is we've added a higher level graphics card. So it's referred to as our RDNA. It's our Radeon graphics card, level 3. And it's actually cards that we had in gamers' notebooks. And what it does, it gives you that higher quality in a commercial business laptop without having to buy an additional discrete graphics card, which is going to give you an extra cost. But with these graphics cards, you can drive up to four 4K screens off of that graphics card. And the other piece is that we're now adding, and of course, it's the AI. Everybody wants to talk about it. And in fact, some of my presentations, I just start and I go, AI, do I have your attention? And so that really is AI, do I have your attention?
Got mine.
And so it's one of those situations where everybody's wanting to know what you're doing. And hey, they feel like they've got to be a part of it. Well, we're going to be the first to have a fully integrated AI processor. And I'm going to talk more in some of the slides about what difference that makes. But it really improves the user experience. It enhances that overall environment for the user environment. But here's the thing with this AI processor is it's our Ryzen AI. It's all together. It's all integrated together. So you've got a graphics card, which is a gamer's quality graphics card. You've got an AI processor separate. And you've got your general processor, your CPU, all integrated together, and they all share the same memory. And so that gives you a lot of qualities that you're going to need going forward. Because when you look at the typical, as we start to go into the AI world and you start that generative process of AI and things like that, you're going to need more power because the demand on the processor is going to be extreme. It's a significant amount of processing that's required, to the point in our AI processor that's separate, it can run 4 concurrent AI streams at the same time, and it can process up to 12 trillion instructions per second. So that's the kind of demand you're going to see in AI going forward, and people are going to need that. And if you saw some of my previous presentations, we're in that mode of believing that 50 to 6% of the laptops that may be 2-3 years old are not prepared to run in-depth AI. You're going to need more power. And so this is what you're looking at. So if you go to the next slide, and as we're moving forward, we're going to have 2 levels of this. There's a high-end level, which you notice that the main difference is you look at the wattage, the TDP on all of these. You've got a 35 to 54 wattage, and you've got a 15 to 28 on the right side. This is about, hey, do you want that much longer battery life? Do you want that much more efficient processor, or you just care about the performance? You want the top level performance and nothing else matters. And so that's where you can make choices and you can decide, what end of that do you need. Next slide. And so we looked at this and we had the 6000 series out. The 7040 series is out as we speak. It's available in all the different lines that we're going to talk about today. But there was probably about a 20 to 25%, up to 29% faster response. That smaller processor, we're sitting at 6 nanometers, we're down to 4 nanometers now. Again, a much more efficient processor, a much more powerful processor, and a much cooler processor. And then we gone to the RDNA 2 to RDNA 3, which gives you even better graphics capabilities, but you've got a gamer's kind of quality graphics available to you on a commercial business laptop, which is crazy. And then the overall user experience, we're going to continue to see that. We'll talk a little bit about where AI plays in the next slide. And the pro technologies. And the pro technologies is really the overall enterprise management, because you need to have, all kinds of levels of maintenance quality and ability to do maintenance, remote deployments and things like this, because of the hybrid workforce that you have out there today. Next slide. So when you look at this, we look at the performance and we compare everything to having a lot of things going on at one time. So we do our benchmarks, not single process. Our competitor has a lot. They like to do a lot of those on that side. But if I were to ask you today, if I were to go to you individually and go, is this the only process that you have active right now? Or do you have multiple screens? Do you have your email over here, up at this time? Are you looking at PowerPoints? Are you looking on a website? Because we're multitasking. That's what we do every day. And we don't run a single process. And that's where AMD shines. The more process demand you put on the computer, the better we do. I do a lot of customer benchmarks, and I'm at a 92% hit rate of winning when the customer gets an AMD laptop, AMD HP laptop in their hand. It makes a difference. And we also have a demo pool available within D&H and AMD that you can order those and put those products in their hand. And we'll talk about that. There is an Ask AMD at dnh.com mailbox that you can make that request. And so we have that ability to put that in the people's hands. Next slide. And so when you look at AI, in the world of AI, it's going to be a lot of data analytics. It's a lot of, predictive modeling, generative modeling, and things like this. So there's that need for that more stronger power processor. But let me tell you, if it's not AMD today, you're running that process on the CPU, and all of that process is putting a demand on that. And what you're starting to see, and you have seen, for things like Teams, for example, if you're in Teams, you have blurred backgrounds. You have that situation where in a blurred background, there's a lot of number crunching, happening to make that blurred background work. A lot of people believe it's their internet when it starts freezing. And actually, many times, it's your computer. It's the CPU. You're crunching the hell out of the CPU, and it freezes. And so that's the difference is with this separate AI engine that you're going to have in the 7040 range, is it'll download some of that onto the AI engine, not onto the CPU. And there's where you start, where Microsoft is working with us to absolutely work closely so that they can drop a lot of their processes down on the AI engine. They're going to talk about Copilot, and we're working with them so the majority of Copilot is going to be processed on the AI engine, not on the CPU. And so they're very excited and very involved with us in that. And then everything from an audio to visual is going to be completely enhanced. I'm not going to steal Gerald's thunder because there's going to be stuff that he's going to talk about, in that of what you're going to see in some of the lines that we have. But really at the level that you've never seen before. It's that level of, I'm going to do things I hadn't thought about or I saw in movies and I thought I could, that's what it wasn't possible. You're going to see this evolve in AI next week. And so we talked about it is, how do we use AI? Enhance background blurs, but really having it offloaded onto that AI engine, auto framing, whereas you're going to see smart cameras, and you're going to see multiple cameras in some of the laptops, so that as you're moving, as you're talking, you have multiple people in the screen, is having the camera make its own adjustments. And all kinds of corrections, but also we talked about is, the video recognitions, the noise cancellations, all of that, we're looking to offload that onto the AI engine next. And so the key part of that is you've got the performance, but you've got to have the security level as well. And so we have a layered approach to security. Gerald talk about a little bit more about that in a later slide. But pro manageability, when you can do auto tune, Intune, autopilot, not to be confused with Copilot, but autopilot. And so remote deployment and remote management is, the key part of this. So the last thing that I want to talk about, and one last thing, and then we're going to turn it over to Gerald, is, what does AMD bring to the picture for you? Well, I'm going to give you an example of getting you into accounts that you haven't been in before. I'm going to give you an example of, I did 44 live events last year. Yes, 44. I was gone every day of the week. And in one of the events, one of the resellers came up to me and said, "Hey, I've got an account that I haven't sold you guys before. I've always sold your competitor. I've not sold AMD stuff. And what I'd like to do from hearing in educating me more on what you bring to the picture is I want to bring this into an account. It's a healthcare account I've never made headway into, and I want to do that. And I'm going against Dell Direct. So I said, let me do it. So I do end user presentations, and I said, hey, I can do a presentation, but I also want to convince the end user to get one of our laptops in their hands. And so I did a presentation. We convinced them to bring it in. They basically, once they went through it, they said, hey, loved it. Better performance. It was, and they are the ones that told us, it's a lot quieter than the other guy, but also as the processing went up and we really put it through its task, it looked like it ate battery life on your competitor way faster. And we said, yes, that's because of the efficiency of the processor. And so they said, we want to order 20 of them, and we're going to put them in different locations. And now they have another 5,000 that they're shipping out. This is a count that the reseller didn't have in before. And he went and won with bringing us into the picture at Dell Direct, because Dell does not have a commercial option within their laptops for AMD. So once you sell the customer on the AMD technology, it's a win. And so they're now shipping out 5,000 of these in an account he didn't have before. So this is your opportunity to get into an AMD account that you didn't go in before. So at this point, what I'd like to do is turn it over to Gerald and let him take it from here.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Jeff. That was a very, very good overview and synopsis of everything that we've had with AMD. And as you can tell, they've got some really exciting things. And it really kind of ties into my world. So my name's Gerald Flynn. I'm one of the Alliance Channel specialists for North America. Been working along with Jeff and the AMD folks for a long time. But kind of what my role is I kind of wear two hats. I wave the AMD banner proudly, but I also work on the HP commercial side of things, particularly on their clients. And I've been doing this for almost 8 years, but with HP almost 17. But it's been pretty amazing to see this relationship with AMD and where it's going. And kind of what we wanted to do is talk about today is why it matters to us over at HP, but why it should matter to you as resellers and as also customers, and then kind of go over some of the cool and new that we've brought a lot of this technology that HP and AMD is bringing together. So with that, let's talk a little bit about today about this relationship. I think this is it's a true mark of a partnership between HP and AMD. Other OEMs have kind of done the hokey pokey. They put their foot in, they put their foot out. They've always kind of done a few things with them, but a lot of us, unlike HP, we have actually seen this relationship for 27 years going on. And so that's a badge of honor that we like to talk about. And we've developed, and even I'd love to see even more development, but unfortunately I'm not making all the decisions, but HP has done a lot of great things together with AMD. And we've brought out a lot of successful notebooks and PCs and desktops and things. And now we're even launching into the workstations that we'll talk a little bit about. But just wanted to kind of highlight that relationship that we have between HP and AMD. And Jeff really hit on a good point there. There are OEMs such as Dell that do not have commercial AMD in it. So it gives you a great opportunity to kind of differentiate yourself and give that opportunity to, hey, check out some cool and new with HP AMD and distinguish some of the differences that are out there. But unfortunately, there are other folks that are getting and tipping their hat to AMD and doing a lot more with it, and smartly so. And so we kind of want to talk about what some of those new things are looking like. Well, first of all, I want to kind of tell the story a little bit about why we're doing this at HP. Well, honestly, it really kind of comes down to this hybrid work experience. We always talk about, hey, we want you guys to work happy. Maybe some of you have seen some of the commercials that HP's putting out, having the ability to work anywhere seamlessly, to connect, to be able to do how you look, how you sound, and just be able to kind of power through today's workloads. Obviously, through the pandemic that we saw, a lot of things changed, right? A lot of folks were using maybe older devices and things that didn't have a lot of the security and some of the things that were there. Well, now they found out quickly they've got to have that. Well, because of this collaboration, we're starting to look a lot, hey, we got to be able to make sure we're going to work this. And so this experience really comes down to between the engineering with what AMD and what Jeff just talked about, and marrying that with what we do really well on our side with HP to make sure you've got those transitions, to make sure you've got power and performance. Because again, we always talk about this return on happiness that we want to make sure you guys are having with their devices. We pride ourselves in giving the best out there, and that's what we continue to do. So with that, let's talk a little bit about kind of what's brought out with these new 7040 series Ryzen processors that Jeff got done talking about. We kind of talk about like our E to Z. So we're going to be starting and talking about our EliteBook 805 G10 series that just came out. That's going to be where you're going to start to see the beginnings of some of these great things that AMD does at the table with AI coming into it. And then we're really excited about our new ZBook Firefly and our ZBook Power G10A mobile workstations. This is an area that we haven't been before, but now we're going to start to see a lot of this power and a lot of this efficiency come together to give some of the best experiences that are out there. So let's go and talk a little bit about why we're so excited about these new units. Well, first of all, we want to start with our 805 series, our EliteBooks. These are kind of like our hero products. We've actually had a lot of success with our 845. There's a 14-inch series, there's a 13-inch series, and even a 16-inch series. So last year we brought these out, and we had a lot of great experiences with what AMD brought to the table then with their older 6000 series. Well, it just got better. Now we're starting to introduce that 7040 series chip that now with the AI and a lot of the great things that it brings to the table there. And we're even added a couple more things into it to even make it better, to make this kind of the go-to product. Now, is this going to fit everyone's budget and fit everyone's workload and what they need? Probably not. I mean, there's going to be a lot of folks that are having a budget that this may not work. Now, we have a little brother to this that's not going to take advantage of all the experiences that we just talked about today that AMD brings to the table, but we do have some other things. But this is a great product. And some of the new things that we brought to the table is even a fuller collaboration suite with their HP presence. And we've got some slides and some videos that we'll talk about what that does, taking advantage and making it even enhanced even better with what those AMD chips bring to the table. But we're also offering a lot of new things in here, like we've got the new 16:10 ratio where you get more screen real estate. We're even introducing some things like on our 13-inch with LPD DDR5, which is going to bring even more enhanced and quicker speeds that are going to be there. But we also have a great design with this. These are some of the more better designed units that are there. And I've actually kind of give a slide here to give a quick walk around about what they look like. Now, we're not going to jumping into the speeds and feeds. HP has data sheets and quick specs that we can certainly work with D&H getting to you, or if you work with an HP specialist already or a partner business manager. But just to give you a real quick, this really is a nice machine. Think thin and light, but be able to power through all those things that you need that are there today. The connectivity is going to definitely there. We're even introduced new 5G connectivity now with these new devices that are there. And then also really great experiences with the cameras, better screens, and better ability just to kind of power through everyone's workload that's there. But these really are truly a nice machine for the budget that people need. And if folks really want to start working down those lines of having the AI and having some of the abilities that are going to be there, this is definitely the product to take a look at. I would have compared these to something along like the Dell Latitude 7000 series, if that's something you're selling or using right now. And then even like your Lenovo, like your T series are going to be there. But these match up really well with those particular products, and they really give you a great feature set for the money and what they're doing. Now, just real quickly, just to kind of give you a highlight of some of the new things that are new, if you've been selling these before, this new Ryzen 7000 series, it is legitimate. Battery life is extremely good on these. Last year's models were getting, I think, on Mobile Marks, which is one of the benchmarks a lot of the industry uses, they were testing up to close to 26 hours on that. That even gets around there a little better depending on what you're looking at. Obviously, that's going to fluctuate depending on what kind of services and applications you're using, but still very, very good battery life. I would argue to say that you're probably 2 to 3 more hours of battery life even than what the competitors are bringing out there right now on this device. But we also brought out new screens where we have a new OLED panel that's on this available. So if that's something that's important to your customers, they need to have that better color saturation and a better clear screen. That's another option they brought to the table. And then just kind of go along with the hallmark of what HP brings to the table and AMD and along with Windows. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we've got really good security on with these, with HP's Wolf security and some of the best in class collaboration features that are out there. When now you can start using multiple camera support. You can actually usually the 5 megapixel cameras that are available and just a wider screen that are view to make those collaboration features a lot better. So get to know this unit, but this is definitely one we're excited to have. We've had a lot of success selling this particular unit in general. But again, the 13-inch, the 14-inch is probably the sweet spot. And then they have a 16-inch that's there. But really nice unit that's going to start taking advantage of this new AMD 7040 chips that are out there. Now let's talk about the workstation. So this is a really exciting area because now finally, where in the past we haven't had AMD mobile workstations, we just introduced 2 new ones that are going to be there. And so we do have obviously the other guys that have been there for a long time. But the reason why I put this slide up is the Firefly, which is the 14-inch, and then we'll have a 16-inch power. That particular side of the business, 75% of our business is going through mobile workstations, is going to be on that Firefly or Power family. And so it's really important to know that now you've got a choice, and there are some advantages that you're going to bring to the table we're going to talk about when you're looking at the AMD Firefly or you're looking at the Intel or AMD-based power machines that are there. And so it's really nice to know that we have those. Yeah, there are other options, but for the price point for thin and light and be able to kind of build a power through what bring to the table, this is where we're really going to work with. So let's start with taking a look at the new ZBook Firefly G10A. So this is going to be probably the best description I've heard of this. Is think of this as somebody that wants to step up from maybe that 805 series. Maybe they're using another competitor OEM device that's really getting pushed beyond the limits, and they need to have something that's going to be able to take on, like I call it, beast mode. That's going to be able to work 24/7. That's going to be able to have a little bit better graphics, a little bit better power and performance. And these ones are going to be starting to using that 7040, that 28 watt series of the U processor that we are, or your HS processor that AMD was bringing out. And so this is going to be kind of more for people that, hey, I need the ability to do kind of a thin and light, but I want to have mobile, but do 2D, 3D rendering, but I'm not doing anything too heavily. The best explanation that I've heard on this is, let's say that maybe you're a supervisor, or maybe you're going to a customer to show something that's been worked on that is heavily CAD, that is heavily SolidWorks related, but be able to just show them what it's going to be able to do, but not be able to have all those price points. So this is a really exciting notebook that we'll take a look at. So let's talk a little bit about what it brings to the table that's there. So just as a quick walk around, again, this is the thin and light design. It's barely over 3 pounds. It's 3.1 pounds. Very sleek, very light. And then we're also offering other options that are in with this, such as screen options. One exciting thing to know about this, I'm not sure if a lot of you are familiar, but HP's had for a while their Dream Color screens that have been on there for a long time. It's an Academy Award-winning device that now we're actually going to be able to bring as an option for screens. Now, a lot of people require different nit screen options and different brightnesses. There is even touch screens available there, but we're even offering a Dream Color display. If somebody has to have that color critical experience, that's an option that you can put on this Firefly, for example. And as you can see there, this gives you kind of a good walk around. You do have a great screen ratio. You have electric click pad. And then they've even added better cameras to this to give you that 5 megapixel camera with an 88-degree wide diameter. So when you are doing those collaboration, you're not hindered by any way that's able to do that. And so it's a really great machine for being a thin and light mobile workstation with the power that's there. And then one other thing that I will also mention in this, besides having on there, this is one of the first ones that's going to actually have Thunderbolt dock on it. And so it's one of the first with AMD that we have that has a Thunderbolt dock capability. So if you have those higher wattage Thunderbolt docks or your customers need that, that is an option you can actually use on the Firefly now, which I'm really excited to have. Now, they've actually had their USB 4, which is very comparable to Thunderbolt, but now actually having the full Thunderbolt capability with the docks that some customers may have, that's something that's there, that's on that. So the other thing that I want to kind of talk about is getting into the graphics side. And it kind of ties in with that message that Jeff was talking about, AMD's the UMA or their APU graphics, the RDNA 3. This is an option that is actually ability advantageous. So this slide kind of talks about, hey, what would I want to do or what I move up to a Firefly for maybe a customer that's using like an EliteBook 805 series, or maybe it's a customer that's using another competitor's notebook that's really getting pushed to the edge. Well, one of the reasons that you jump up to a Firefly is, again, kind of talking about these graphics. And the thing that was really exciting that I learned about is the Firefly is one that's going to be able to utilize the integrated graphics or the UMA graphics. They are one of the first ISV certified graphics that are there, that you don't need to have a competitor's like an RTX 500 series card or a discrete graphics card on that to be able to run. As a matter of fact, the graphics are performing even better than a unit that is running one of those discrete graphic cards that are on with it. And so it saves the customer about $150 for to have that discrete graphics card versus like on, for example, another unit that is running that. And so that's a really exciting feature to have graphics that are already built in from AMD that can run ISV certifications, but it saves that customer some cost. And I will also say that also there's a delta in pricing between our Intel-based units versus the AMD-based units like the Firefly G10A. That's even going to save you some money. So really compelling reason to take a look at this Firefly unit, that it doesn't need to have one of those discrete graphics, the ATX 500 from NVIDIA, to run that. And so that just is a testament to how good the engineering is together and what AMD's bringing, kind of what Jeff talked about earlier. So just wanted to quickly highlight that, but definitely get to know the Firefly. This is a great unit, and we're excited to have that in there. So now let's kind of switch gears and talk about the new power. Well, the power is going to be kind of the next step up in the evolution. This is going to be for customers that want a desktop replacement, but still want to have an affordable, thin and light power unit that's able to work with what they need to do for their doing. The other thing is to think about this. Think of this as for customers that are doing more kind of a medium duty, where they're doing kind of those 3D renderings. They're using SolidWorks, or they're using some of those other software vendors out there that require a little bit more power. But this is going to be a little heavier of a unit, but a better, good battery life. And one thing that I failed to mention on the Firefly, from my understanding, HP's testing, that gets around about 16 hours, which is really good for a workstation. This new power unit is going to get closer to a little bit to 20 hours, but it is a little heavier of a unit. I think this is a little over 4 pounds, but think of this as kind of a medium duty, but yet affordable workstation that's going to work for what people need. And to kind of give you what's new on with this, besides having that new AMD 7040 series processor, this jumps up to kind of get more of their 45 watt processor. So a little bit more jump in performance, but a little bit better as far as what people are going to be doing. The other option that we've started to bring up with this is there's all different varieties of nits options. This will offer all the way up to a quad high definition display. So again, depending on what customers are needing, there's a variety of different screens that are available for this that you can jump into. And it will give you that really good power and performance at a very affordable price point that's going to be from that point there. And then, of course, this also offers a lot of those experiences for collaboration. We'll talk a little bit more about what that present software does from HP, in addition being enhanced by AMD. But just really quickly to kind of give you some of the power experiences that are there is really good battery life, a solid performance, and you can get up to a 64 megs of memory and up to 8 terabytes of storage. So it's going to be a little bit more beefier than what the Firefly is on with it. The other great thing about on the power is this actually is going to be available in TAA compliance units. So we started to run to a lot of federal and even some places that need to have that TAA compliancy. The power is definitely one that's going to fit there. So unfortunately, we don't have TAA compliancy on the Firefly, but in order to get that, the power is going to fit the bill where people are going to need that. The other great thing about this, talking about security for some of the federals and things, both the Firefly and Power will actually offer a smart card reader. So you have requirements to use some of that dual authentication. That is an option that's definitely there on the Power and Firefly. So we're really excited about having that as there. But really get to know both of these units because they fit the bill at an affordable price point for what people are looking, but offer all that power and connectivity, and the influence of what they bring to the table really excites us at HP to kind of offer that at a competitive price. So those are just a really kind of a quick rundown. If you need to know what some of the specs are, some of the technical things, definitely get with your HP sales reps or with your D&H specialist. There are data sheets and things that can help you walk through a little bit around what's going with that point. Real quickly, just to kind of cover, all of these are going to have ISV certifications. I believe the last number that I saw, they had up to 25 and counting more ISV certifications are going to be on there. So like your SolidWorks, your Autodesk, things like that. So there's definitely no need to worry about that. And again, that Firefly having ISV certifications on a UMA or an APU graphics card is really exciting to have on that. So make sure that you're aware of that. And then real quickly, all of these notebooks that we talked about are going to be coming with our 2023 HP Presence software. So these are a new feature that actually is going to be enhanced with AMD, with having the AI, but unfortunately you don't necessarily need to have that. But these are going to be features that uses AI to kind of make you look good and sound good, and it will automatically adjust to how you're collaborating with your customers or your teams. What's new this year is they've even added features like multi-view of using multi-cameras. Say if you've got one on you and one on what you're doing or behind you in the backyard, they'll even use like keystone corrections to make sure whatever they're showing looks good. And so these are a lot of exciting features that are available on these notebooks. And I real quickly just wanted to show you kind of what those look like. So one, for example, if you look at the slide, one of the things that we always do is, hey, how do you look, right? Well, the AI that's built in these machines as part of Presence, and even gets better with AMD, is that actually it's going to adjust to what the brightness of the room is. And so it's using that. Are you overexposed? Are you dark room? And those are just some of the contents to make that collaboration the best experience you possibly can. Now, I've seen some videos of some competitors that have similar, but I can tell you just from experience, the HP Presence is the best in class in there. And it gets even better with what AMD brings to the table with what they're having with their new chips. Now, I've got another one that's going to show a video, and hopefully this works for what we need to have here.
We just got the first draft in from the agency, and hold on, guys. Okay, so we just got the first draft in from the agency. I'm going to go ahead and give my review, and I'll forward it to you, and you guys can give me all your feedback.
These are some really cool features that are best in class that are offering out there, this HP Presence, and it even gets better with that AI that offloads a lot of that work from the CPU that Jeff was talking about. Now it even enhances these features. So definitely get to know those. Those are just a couple that I wanted to show folks, but there are several others that talk about the multi-screens and all the way the AI works to make that collaboration better. So switching gears, talking about security, all of these devices receive or have the gifts from 3 different companies that are on there. Obviously, the biggest one that we talk about is with HP with their Wolf security. That's kind of our secret weapon that protects in, at, and above the operating system. But if you go into it even a little bit more, Microsoft and Windows 11 does a fantastic job with a lot of their security features that are built in. And then if you go right down to the silicon level, AMD offers some of the best in class that's built on. It's not bolted on. It's an actual security. The moment you turn it on, that will go through and look for anything that's malicious. If you need to get to know like Memory Guard, which encrypts your memory, a lot of federal people love that feature, and we've seen a lot of wins just because of that. But there's a lot of security built in from AMD. So just like the suit of armor, if you're familiar with some of the medieval armor, they used to dress in layers. You would have layers upon layers and chainmail and then plate metal. It's the same story. Security is a part of the message when you're buying and looking at PCs. We kind of frankly say, hey, look at the best that's out there between all the worlds that we get with this. And so that's a really kind of a strong message that we want to make sure that you're aware of that. And then one other thing that we've seen a lot that's becoming more and more important is HP with our kind of our enhanced with our just having a secure and sensible message is a lot of our stuff is built, it's recyclable. A lot of it's starting to be made from like ocean-bound plastics, or if you've seen like our DVDs or your keyboard, a lot of those are being made from recycled and post-consumer plastics. A lot of our particular chassis that are built from machined aluminum, that it's recyclable, that's really good on the environment. And this is something that we're starting to see from a lot of customers that are out there that are asking, like, how sustainable are some of these machines, or what are we buying? And we're actually proudly able to say, like, look, HP is a leader in this world. And not only that, because look at what energy savings you're getting from AMD, using a lot less performance and getting a lot less wattage out of those machines with what AMD and HP are bringing to the table. So please make sure you're able to talk with your customers about the sustainability message that HP has, because we have a strong message. I believe it's 3 years in a row, maybe even 4, that Newsweek has mentioned HP as one of the most sustainably or sourced manufacturers for PC only out there. And so this is a message that a lot of people don't know about or gets talked about. This gives you one more arrow in your quiver to go to your customers and say, look, we have some of the best units that are out there. They have some of the most EPEAT gold registered units that are out there. Even our packaging is sustainably. And if you're doing a lot of units, instead of doing multiple boxes, you can even get just one big package full of all these units in there and save on the environment. And so just really quickly wanted to kind of touch on that message that's there. I know we're getting close on time, but I'll just kind of bring it home on a couple other things. One other good message to bring to the table is you as a reseller can make a lot of money selling HP AMD devices. Just recently, and what's been going on and will be going to the end of this year, there's an AMD loyalty program that we have. It's kind of like your Marriott points or your Hilton points, like your hotels or something, right? Basically, the more you sell and the different tiers you get into, the more money that you could potentially double on the spiffs that are out there. HP already has some amazing spiffs on a lot of these HP devices that are go through their Curiosity program. Well, a lot of that automatically gets tracked into it. So if you're selling more and doing a lot more HP AMD devices, you could potentially double that spiff money that's there. So if you have questions on this, definitely reach out to D&H or your HP reps. They can kind of get you educated on this a little bit more. But I would just say this is one more reason to look at HP AMD is it can actually put more money in your pocket too. And not only you'll be getting a great experience to your customer, but you're also going to be getting paid for it too. So obviously we know that's kind of what makes things go around a little bit, and I wanted to mention that. So I'll just kind of quickly line it up. It's like, look, HP AMD, if you're not selling it or haven't been talking about it or even quoting it, now's the time to do it. They're positioned to win in just about anything out there. I would love to see, and you'll continue to see a lot of things coming out from HP AMD, but they have a lot of great things that will position yourself as maybe one day you'll look at it. I encourage you to maybe look at quoting some of these units. The best thing I could tell you to do is get some of these devices in your hands or your customers' hands and let them try them out in their environment. We're seeing, I would say, probably an 80%. Most of the people that do end up buying those. And that's no joke. It's actually a pretty exciting thing to see people's like, man, I didn't know AMD could provide this. And you're giving this to me at what cost? And it does X, Y, and Z. Man, why not? Why didn't I know about this earlier? So please make sure you're taking a look. Now that you've been educated a little bit more, I encourage you to look a little bit more and have your customers look at it. Reach out. There's several different mechanisms that are out there to get demo devices, such as those workstations that we talked about. But we really are in a great shape to kind of look at some of the devices. And now that you're going to be future-proofing with AI, I think that's a great thing to talk to customers, because I think really a lot of people, if they're not prepared for AI, they need to be, because this is going to change the industry and how things and how business is done down the road. So I really quickly to just encourage you to take a look at that. So if that's that, I just wanted to give you guys a thanks on behalf of myself and Jeff for taking the presentation and taking the time to listen to us. Right there is the actual Ask AMD at D&H mailbox that Jeff mentioned earlier. So if you have questions, or if you've got questions even after the fact, that's a great resource that's out there. You're more than welcome to reach out myself. I know Jeff's available. And then, of course, work with your folks at D&H. They're a great partner of ours, and they've seen a lot of success selling HP-AMD. So with that, thank you for your time. And I'm going to turn the time back over to you, Chris. Is there any questions that we may have missed that we need to answer? Or?
There's a lot of questions. I want to thank everyone. There's quite a few, and I want to thank everyone that asked questions. If you still have questions, go ahead and put them in there now. We got about 13 minutes to go through as many as we can. Lori did want to know a little bit more about the mechanisms she could take advantage of to get a hold of loaner products. She sells several different brands. She would love to get the opportunity to get her hands on like the HP EliteBook G10. Can you go into a little bit more detail on those?
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about the HP side of thing that's there, and then Jeff, if you want to poke in on this a little bit. So first and foremost is that I don't know if you're working with an HP PBM, but we do have a couple other areas that you can work through a demo pool. And then I do know that we also work really closely with AMD, that they have their own demo pool. So if you're not really needing a specific configuration, a lot of times we can match up with what's available and we can get that something to you. One other thing that's even out there is we do have a program that's not really published, but it's called a strategic demo. And then you have to work through your HP PBM to work through on that. But those are several ways that you can get a demo product in your hands or at a customer's hands. And that would be one. Jeff, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, the demo pool, we have a couple of thousand units in our demo pool. And that you could submit a request, ask AMD at dnh.com, and we would send you a form to fill out pretty much where it needs to be sent, who it's for in the situation. And here's the situation with the AMD. What everybody loves about it is when I receive that form, it's pretty much a ship it out next day situation. Okay. And I can, come back to you and say, hey, what kind of configuration you want. But so that's, we truly believe if you get the unit in somebody's hands, we win. I mean, like I said, on my benchmarks, I'm at a 92% hit rate of winning. And if you as a company want to evaluate it, we can talk about that as well, because that seems like that's something that she wants to do.
Yeah. Jeff, you did get a lot of people's attention when you said AI. There was, I believe Murray was looking for more information on when you're offloading the processes from the CPU for AI, are you putting them on the GPU? What happens when you hit a limit to the number of GPU processes that are being supported? So where are these AI processes going on the silicon?
So that's the difference between us and our competitor, is they're trying to offload a lot of it on the GPU. Mm-hmm. So we've got 3 engines now in the 7040 series. So you have your regular processing, the CPU. You got the graphics, which is a GPU, which a lot of people are dropping AI in the GPU, yep. Especially in the server world, but also in the client world. But we have a separate AI engine, and our work with Microsoft is to where the majority of that gets offloaded onto the AI engine first. And so it's a different kind of processor than, it's kind of the hybrid, you might say, between a GPU and a CPU. So if you're you're really into the tech, I'll have a separate conversation with you. But a lot of it is first being dropped on the AI engine. And so our competitors don't have that. We're the first to bring it out in the market. And it sounds like they might not bring theirs out into the market until mid next year. And we're delivering it now. You can order it and you can sell it.
Yeah, so these are cores that aren't dedicated to the CPU or GPU. These are specific for AI. That's all they do.
Right. Right.
There was a question that someone wanted to know what the difference between the AMD Ryzen Pro and the regular Ryzen processors are at this point.
We're at a point now that majority of the people that are enterprise business, they're doing Ryzen Pro, okay, because it's the full manageability suite, it's the full security suite, it's enterprise. And I'll be honest with you, consumer, that we really have those two levels. But the regular Ryzen, like a Ryzen 7, but not Ryzen 7 Pro, that's typically more consumer now, or very, very low level, which SMB and above, we're pretty much doing Ryzen Pro because everything comes with it. It's not an extra add-in. It's not an upgrade. It's everything comes with it.
Let me add one thing into that if you don't mind. So on HP, pretty much everything that's elite and above is going to be using a pro processor. Where you will find a non-pro processor is like in kind of our mid-tier, still a very solid notebook, like our ProBook 405 series, for example. Those are the ones that are not configured with the Pro, but however, you can go in CTO or configure one to get that in there. And the reason being is I think that's a price point issue, right? It's still very good, but what you're kind of giving up is a security and a manageability between the two processors. So typically you're going to see that more on the elite side and up, like the workstations, while your ProBooks, which are still really solid notebooks, they generally don't come with a pro processor, but you can config one in, like on the X360, for example.
Nice. A couple more minutes for questions, so go ahead and get them in. There was a question from Larry, specifically on the HP 805 laptops, wanting to know if they include the AMD AI processor, or at least the AMD Ryzens that have that AI processor in it. Is there a denotion of which systems have those processors?
So the simple answer is most of them will do. And so anything that's a G10 is going to be coming with that new 740 chip. However, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jeff, there is one 7040 series chip that does not have the AI in it. And you'll have to go look and specifically, I can go look that up real quick and see what that is, but 95% of them do. Yeah.
Yeah, there is one, but the majority of what you're ordering on the EliteBook, the 805 series, is going to be the straight 7040 series that has AI in it.
Okay, great. Thank you. So yeah, simple answer is most of it's going to, but there is one, and I believe HP does have one SKU that has that. And I think it's, again, trying to go in after a price point, but the vast majority of it is, I'll quickly try to find what that is real quick and post that up. But
sure. Best
thing to do is just when you get a chance, consult with your D&H folks or your HP sales reps, and they can help identify which one that is.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of questions here regarding us, like kind of specific specs from Rodney and Michael, just looking for basic information on specific feature sets of these laptops. I just highlighted the resources that we have available for this. They have a lot of resources on the AMD battle cards and a lot of the data sheets on the HP G10 series. Go ahead and look those up. If you can't find the information you're specifically looking for, again, reach out to AskAMD at dnh.com or HP Specialist at dnh.com. We'll find that specific information from you. Rodney specifically was asking for about number of cells one of the HP laptops had. I believe it was the 805 number of battery cells it had. And that's an interesting question, not because I don't think number of battery cells will give you a good indication of how well the laptop performs battery life. Jeff, you were speaking earlier about it. It's really more about the efficiency of the processor, correct?
It is, but there are different levels of batteries that they have options for, so that they're a little bit larger, they're a little bit heavier, um, that will extend that battery life, further. And so we're changing that. HP's making that decision on what kind of level of battery they want to put in that. And so the 805s, that series has the larger battery, but it's not like an overpowering battery. I mean, it's a very thin and light laptop. So I don't want to make people believe that that's going to be a boat anchor, because it's by no means nothing like that. But will get you up to 20 to 26 hours battery life, in that EliteBook line. But that is the difference. That is an HP choice of what kind of level of battery they want to put in some of these. Like the 605 series has another type of battery that's a little smaller, and the battery life isn't going to, but it's still really good. I mean, we're talking up to 20 hours. Might not get 26, but 20. And so that's the situation. I did want to address one more thing that's kind of that was put about how do I learn more about HP AMD products. There is, when you send out a question to ask AMD at dnh.com, we can get you to a couple of websites that have a lot of one-pagers that you can give to customers. And it's including benchmark information, it's how to sell, how to position, and things like this. And so we have a lot of information out there that are one-pagers that you can refer to and give to customers and stuff like that. So we have a wealth of that information.
Can I also add one other comment as well regarding batteries? So that's a valid question. Actually, from what I've seen competitively, so a lot of folks competitive, like Dell, for example, I know they'll put in larger batteries, which obviously equals larger weight, right? And Jeff's 100% right. It really depends on what HP's putting in. So I'd encourage you to go take a look at the data sheets or the quick specs on the 805 series that you're looking at, and that will give you what cell or what kilowatt or hour they've got on there. But yeah, that's something you definitely need to look for, because a lot of people are like, oh, we're offering more battery. Go and check that, because a lot of times the competition will offer a bigger battery, and they're adding some things in there with that. But just straight out of the box, I can tell you between HP and AMD, a lot of those hours, we're better than just about all of them out there by at least 2 to 3 hours, if not minimum 1. But definitely go check that battery on there, because a lot of times they're putting bigger batteries. HP is offering smaller batteries, but even giving better battery life between the engineering of the companies. And then I do have add that answer. I believe the one 7040 series chip that AMD has that does not have AI in it, it's a 7540U, if I'm not mistaken. And so that should answer that. Is that correct, Jeff, to your knowledge?
Yeah, that is it.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to answer that question while I had it. So back to you, Chris. Sorry about that.
No, that's
fine.
There's
one more question I definitely want to make sure that we met is, somebody had asked, hey, besides battery life and performance, what else is
I saw
in positioning? Absolutely the graphics, okay? Because having that integrated gamer's quality graphics card, gives you much higher resolution, and it also can drive 4K screens without having a separate discrete graphics card. So it's all integrated together. So that's another, game changer. It's a differentiator between us and the competition, is having that, gamer's quality graphics card, because that's the good thing about AMD is we make the Radeon graphics card too. And it's where it's in competitive with NVIDIA. Our friends on the other side, I would say their graphics card's here, and then there's AMD and NVIDIA is up here. So big difference.
Danny was asking about he's 110% behind HP, but he's seeing that the prices are increasing and they may not be competitive with other vendors, and what he can do to kind of overcome that. That's the situation where I'd have you reach out to HP specialists at dnh.com. Make sure you're utilizing deal reg and things of that nature to make sure you're getting the best price for your customers. That seem fair and in line with what you guys are going with, Jeff and Jared?
Yeah, I would say that's definitely right. I mean, let us know. I mean, obviously you work through your specialist with the D&H and HP. look at the big deals. If they're still not getting where it is, definitely challenge out. But I would definitely say there's been a conscious effort to make sure that they're competitive, they're available. And I would say in general, I mean, I've seen anywhere from $100 to $300 difference just from some of the competitor devices that are out there that are Intel based. And so that may be changing, obviously, some of the things, and you got to give AMD their due. If they're just as good, if not better, and delivering a lot of stuff, yeah, prices are going to change. But I would say we're still competitive. So give us some examples. Let's get down to the weeds a little bit more and work with your specialists at D&H and HP. I really think that we can get close. Will you hit everything? Probably not. But I think we're really competitive on where that is.
Well, and the other thing is deal registration.
Yep.
You know, absolutely, you know, register your deals when you have an opportunity.
There are many questions that are still coming in, but we are running out of time. So I'm going to end this with, I'm going to go to you, Jeff, and see if you use anything you want to end with, any more comments or any thing you want to bring up right before we close here.
Yeah, there is one, and I saw a number of questions in that. Hey, you know, my email address is very easy. It's jeff.presley@amd.com. Okay, and that's one S, like Elvis Presley. And so if you've got more questions, you know, or you can send it to askamd@dnh.com. But if you want to send something directly to me, and then Gerald has his own email as well, you know, reach out to us. You know, we're here to help you in any way. And the other thing is, I was a direct sales. I've been in business for 42 years. I was a direct sales rep many years. And so I do end user presentations, and I still do them today. And so I actually I'm available to do presentations within your sales force, within your particular reseller. I can do that. But I also can do some presentations to your end users as well. So that's available to you as well.
Gerald, anything?
Yeah, I just saw a couple other questions. We're looking for benchmark information. That's a great question. Obviously, we didn't want to touch it with the time thing, but we do have some things that are available, like on some of the G9. Now, a lot of the new stuff, the G10s, we're still waiting to get that with testing between HP and AMD, but we do have a few things. So I would just say, hey, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. It's Gerald with a J, Gerald, Gerald.Flint@hp.com. Or please reach out to D&H or in this D&H mailbox, and let's get your answers as best as we can for you. But certainly now is the time, if not ever, to look at HP AMD. I think they got the right price, they got the right feature set, and I just think they're probably the tip of the spear right now, what you want to lead with. So thank you for your time, and appreciate D&H having us on today.
Yep. And if you had a question that didn't have a chance to get answered, check with us when this broadcast goes on demand late this week. Usually we will answer any questions that we kind of missed in the on-demand written Q&A. So if you had any questions that you want answered that you didn't get answered, you can do that, or you can email hpspecialist@dnh.com, or again, askamd@dnh.com. Any one of those will get those answers questioned. Gerald, Jeff, thank you so much for your guys' time. This was a lot of great information. Everyone super engaged. So I think that just shows how much everyone was interested in what you guys were talking about and what valuable information you guys shared today. We will be back later this week on Thursday at 2 p.m. I have dusted Trevor Schubert out of the Solutions Lab closet, and me and him are going to have a Solutions Lab reunion, and we're going to talk about unlocking the latest in memory and storage in your devices. So I hope you have some time to join us with that. But until then, thank you guys for joining us today. Gerald, Jeff, I hope you guys have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.